well, what's wrong? It's like, well, okay, wait, what could be wrong? What could I say?
Yeah.
So your brain will look. So I like to say,
true.
what's right? What's right?
What's right? I like that.
Yeah, that's what I do to my own
phrase.
brain. Yeah. Hey, what went right today?
So when you're saying like, stop, you're pretty much telling the child that their core need is not valid and you're not taking into consideration. And if core needs aren't met, like it's like saying, oh, you have glasses and you need your glasses to read, but you can't have your glasses to read because your vision tool isn't needed.
Okay, welcome back to the Play on Words podcast. We are diving in with Courtney English, an OT and friend of mine. And Courtney, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So
we just had our own little podcast before we started recording. So it's just continuing on.
Exactly. I feel like every person that I have on the podcast is like, I can't remember if I was saying this before we started recording or not. So, okay. So you are an occupational therapist, among many things. Can you quickly explain, well, first of all, like introduce yourself and what is an occupational therapist and what do they do in the context of early childhood education? And bonus points, I'll give you extra credit if you can add how it connects to literacy.
Ooh, okay. I think I can do the bonus points.
Yay.
Extra credit today. I've always been an extra credit girl since
I was
the
just
fifth
going
grade.
to ask
so
if you were like that in school.
I was like, if I didn't get an A+, I was devastated. So yes, I know it was bad. I don't know if that's a bad or a good thing, but anyways.
Nothing is bad and nothing is good.
That's right. That's right. I love that. So pediatric occupational therapist. So an OT that works with children in early childhood development. We focus really on helping children, obviously with their developmental skills, and we focus on motor skills, fine motor skills, visual motor skills, which you do a lot with because that has to do with reading. And sensory regulation is a big one. That's kind of like the groundwork of it. It's like the bottom of the pyramid, the foundation of everything. And just being able to function throughout the day. So if any of those skills, any of like social emotional skills, motor skills, sensory regulation, any of those things impact your daily functioning and everyday tasks and routines and your development and learning and academics, we're the ones that you come to for that. And PT does more specifically with physical, right? Because PT, OT, and speech, we kind of are like a triangle, a trifecta of like interdisciplinary teams that work together to help children with their development in the pediatric setting. But OTs really focus on like sensory regulation and the fine motor, social, emotional. But again, it's overlapping. So sorry, it's kind of a drawn out because I could go on and on about it.
I love it.
But I would say OTs, we are like the masters in sensory regulation, sensory processing, nervous system regulation, all of that.
Okay, love it.
Mm-hmm.
And how?
Oh, the bonus points.
Oh,
how does
sorry,
the title? So, what's so interesting is a part of the milestones, and they recently took it out, the CDC, of like crawling. A lot of like the motor development that occurs is directly tied to reading skills, like ocular motor skills. So like when you're crawling, you're scanning your environment left and right, and you're developing those ocular motor skills. And even when your hands are on the ground and you're crawling, it's building the arches in your hand for writing. And so everything that OTs work on in development, all of those skills, those foundational like prerequisite skills, are tied to reading and writing. It's like in the literature and research, which is so interesting.
It's so interesting. I remember several years ago, I was on the phone with a parent and she was describing like the not diagnosis, but like the learning difficulties that I was kind of helping her navigate what to present when she went to get an assessment, because it is kind of like scary, even like you're like, what do I bring up? What matters? What doesn't? So we were talking about her 7-year-old before the assessment. And then I was like, wait, did he crawl? And she was like, no. And I like can't explain to you like why or what it was. This was like probably 6 years ago, but I remember what she was describing about his writing and his reading made me ask that question. And she was like, he skipped crawling, he just walked. So
Mhm.
that's I just remember that when you
I
said
know. It's like one of my biggest, like, and most asked questions when parents, tell me that there's something going on, and I'm like, "Oh, like, how was their motor development? Was it slow? Was it a little bit, like, behind track?" And or, like, did they skip crawling? And a lot of kids do skip crawling, and you see that there's, like, reflex integration challenges, with reflex integration or just, sensory processing because they didn't get that experience that's natural and typical for children to go through that progression, you know?
Yeah, okay, so
So,
I feel like though okay, if I'm a parent listening to this podcast and I'm like, I just have a toddler, what is even sensory processing? I feel like that's such a buzzword
yes,
that we
it is.
professionals throw around and expect that people know what it means,
Yes.
and I don't think that even professionals do. Like,
Yes,
I think it's
it's
very
so detailed.
yeah, so will you
Yes.
break it down?
Yes, I will. So, sensory processing, to put it in its simplest form, is the ability to take in sensations from our environment and also internally what we feel inside of our body. So, like the light that's I have a light on my computer. I'm taking in that light. I'm also taking in through my vestibular sense and my inner ear where my head is at in space, so that my body knows like what muscles to engage to keep me upright. I have to have good body awareness to know where my body's at in space. I'm taking that in internally. I'm taking in internally if I'm hot, if I'm cold. I'm sensing whether I need to take a drink of water, or I need to take off my sweater, or I need to put on a sweater, all of those things. I'm taking in the sound and processing, like, what does that sound mean? Someone dropped something in the other room. I'm taking that in and saying, oh, is that something I need to pay attention to, or can I just let that go? So
Mm.
it's in three steps. It's you take in the sensory input. This all happens automatically below our conscious level of awareness. This is your brain working the autonomic nervous system doing all this work on the back end without us having to actively, cognitively, consciously think of it. So we take in the sensory information, it goes up through our nerves to our spinal cord to our brain where it starts to triage it, right? It's like step two is figuring out what this means. It categorizes the sensation, it localizes it, where is it coming from? And then it tries to determine, oh, do I need to pay attention to this? Is this something that's going to be a threat to me? Or is this safe and I can engage? And then the third step is creating a motor response or a response to that, whether I'm going to pay attention to that, get up and take action, go see what that sound was, or I'm just going to stay here. So it's very complex, and that's the simplest form. But really, what it is our body's ability to take in the world, the sensory world, make sense of it, and keep us alive and functioning by the responses that our body decides what to do automatically. So,
Wow, I love that.
does
I
that
like that
make
you're
sense? I
oh,
can
it
go into.
makes
Oh,
sense to me, and
yes.
this is, I think, where I think this is where I shine. I think I'm pretty good at translating things into, metaphors and analogies for people.
Yes.
So, I'm
I love that.
wondering, where I'm like, "Yeah, that's so good." I follow that, and I'm like,
Yes.
"Okay, so do
Yes.
you mean" okay, one, parents might say, "Okay, why do I need to do these things with my child if it's like automatic that our body is learning them?"
Yes.
Or two, people might say, okay, this is where helicopter parents come in because, the parents that are with their baby and they're doing a lot of rocking stuff. And they're like, well, I'm trying to stimulate their vestibular nervous system to make sure that they can learn everything. Um,
Mhm.
or three, I'm now also thinking about people. I talk about the nervous system when I talk about schools and like behavior charts. And I
Mhm.
talk about how that subliminal fear that is happening for your child about their watching their environment to see, like, am I going to get in trouble right now? Am I going to have to move my name on a color clip chart? That
Mhm.
disrupts their ability to focus on what's happening in the
So
classroom.
true. Mhm.
So I'm thinking, like, I think
Yes.
that is what I was trying to think, like, how can I connect this for parents that are like, well, how do I know if
Yes.
my child's nervous system is disrupted? And
Yes.
sometimes you do and sometimes you don't.
Yes. So, like, breaking it down into two different parts, there's like sensory regulation, which occurs in the brain and the nervous system. And then there's this general nervous system regulation. Like the example that you just told me made me think more about like nervous system regulation. So we have in the autonomic nervous system that does all the automatic things, right? I like to call it like the lower brain. So I think of it as like a red dot at the bottom of the brain. And then I
Is
like to
that what
think
some
of like,
people call the lizard brain? Have you heard that?
Maybe. I think so. Yeah, I've heard that. I just don't know exactly how they were saying it, but
I
that
actually
that
don't know what
may
it
be
is
correct.
either.
But it's yeah, it's like the lower part of the brain. It's like our primal part of the brain. It controls all things automatic, and then we have the top part of our brain, which I like to call like the green, like a green dot. Think of like a green dot and a red dot. Like a red dot's
Okay.
lower at the bottom of the brain, and the green dot is how it's our prefrontal cortex. So it's how we rationally think about things. It's our logic centers of the brain. It's how we learn. It's how we function. And so, if our nervous system or sensory system is dysregulated, whether it's because of a demand being placed on us by a teacher because we have a behavioral chart, or
Mm.
maybe there's something sensory that's overwhelming me, right? Either of
Mm.
those things from two different parts, it can cause the red dot of the brain to shut down access to that higher level logic thinking. And so, if we don't know what sensory sensations or stimulation is overwhelming to our child, or if they need more of it, if they need less of it, and if we don't know how their nervous system responds, then we won't be able to help them open the gates for them to be able to access those logical centers, those higher level thinking centers when they really need to, whether it's to self regulate, whether it's to learn and take in the information and remember it. And so I think that's super important for parents to know, and for teachers and educators to know too, is that a lot of kids, we have such high expectations for them, but we might be trying to teach them something when their logic centers of the brain are really not online and they're offline. And so it's important to know that sensory regulation controls a lot of those higher level centers in the brain that need to be active and online when we're at school and when we're learning how to read and write and all of those things.
Well, this makes me feel better for, how insane I sometimes feel about all of the things that I do to regulate, because a lot
Yeah.
of the things, okay, like, for example, people are like, "Can you go through your morning routine?" And I'm like, "No, I fear you'll think I'm insane." But I
I've heard it.
You
I
have
like
heard it,
that.
and okay, wait, and you wake up earlier than me. What time do you wake up?
Like sometimes 5:30, sometimes 6. So
I thought that
sometimes
you said
6:30.
sometimes I thought you
Just
said you get up at 4.
no, that's Elena.
Oh gosh, oh my gosh, okay,
Yeah.
Elena, well, okay then, never mind then.
Yes, I'm
Okay,
not that early. I'm like the
but
same as you, I think.
oh, okay, good. So, I do a lot of things. One, I, like, go outside right away because I
Mhm.
want
No phone, right? No
right,
screen.
no phone, yes, no phone, sunlight on my eyes. If it's not
Mhm.
sunny, I turn on a red light while I, like,
Mhm.
journal or
Yes.
read.
Yes.
And then, I sometimes do shaking. I've heard about, like,
Yeah.
just, like, shake all of your energy through your body for 5
Yeah.
minutes. Do you
Mhm.
this is okay, thank you. This
Yes.
makes me feel
Yes.
insane when
Yes.
my
I
friends
love the
think I'm
red light
crazy.
'cause it helps, like, with your circadian rhythm, right? It's, like, shifting you, because when we wake up, our sympathetic nervous system wakes us up, which is our fight or flight response. 'Cause it has to, because we have to wake up, right? And sometimes that shift from sympathetic to parasympathetic, rest and digest, to be calm and organized and focused for the day, that can be a tough transition for people, and especially for kids who have,
Yes.
immature nervous systems that are developing every day. So,
Yes.
isn't
Okay,
that
so I
interesting?
it's so interesting. I try to tell this to my friends that I'm
Mhm.
like, I basically treat myself like a child. I, like, experiment with what would help kids on myself, and
Yes.
I'm like, "Wow, I'm functioning as a better adult today." But I think that, like, that movement in the morning,
Mhm.
especially for
Yes.
kids that are possibly you've heard sensory seeking, or, like, maybe they don't have a diagnosis of needing something, but I can
Mhm.
see when kids have big outbursts. I'm thinking of one of my friend's 6, 7-year-olds. He really, really seeks conflict in
Mhm.
with his siblings, and
Mhm.
when I watch it, I'm like, he does not just wanna upset, he's, like, seeking something, and I'm like, I
Mhm.
think he
Like the
needs to, like
response and just like the loud, like,
yes,
big.
'cause I
Yes.
know that he's so loving, but he, like, all of a sudden, then he'll just push or hit or say, "I hate you," and
Mhm.
I'm like, I think he needs to jump on trampoline for 20 minutes immediately when he wakes
Yes.
up.
Well, yeah,
Well,
because he might have a higher threshold for those inputs that he's looking for, right? Like pushing, proprioceptive input. I might have, and this is where the thresholds come into with a sensory profile, which pretty much just means that the child has a higher threshold that has to be met for them to feel calm and focused in their bodies. So maybe that's the only way he's ever known how to feel that satisfying sensation to meet his proprioceptive needs, is to do that, right?
yeah, so
So
how
it's routine for him.
So how do we regulate it?
So you offer different types of proprioceptive input based on his interest and what he enjoys doing for him to explore that sensation. And then you can say, like when you push someone, you still get that same feeling that feels good to your body, but it's not safe. You can do, whatever other activity that you've determined is helpful and the child has really engaged in and enjoyed doing and saying this is safe for you to do, so that now you're like showing like I get it, I like you're trying to help them feel seen, right? I get it, when you push, like your body feels good because you like that input, you like that pressure that it gets, and you like the big reactions because you like to hear more sound, you like more light, you like when things are fast, you like, all these things that they like, so that they feel validated, and but then you're showing them how to regulate in a functional and more purposeful, safe way.
I love it. I have a friend who she's in early intervention, Liz, and she always talks about this, that she's
Mhm.
like, "We don't wanna say stop the behavior, we're saying
Yeah.
this is what you do different." Like, because if we look at behaviors too in the classroom, this is so little. I won't go down this rant
Yeah.
about teachers needing more training in this stuff, but because we all
Mhm.
know it, but it's really unfair to kids and it's unfair to teachers that they have so many different kids with different needs and they don't have the
Mhm.
resources. But
Yes.
we say if a kid is rolling around on the carpet, say like basic training would
Yeah.
say, your job as the teacher is to get through this lesson. So here is the behavior clip chart. And you tell kids, this is how you sit on the rug. You're crisscross applesauce and you are silent. And you are within
Mhm.
2 inches of 30 other 6 year olds
Mhm.
who some you
Yes.
want to talk to and some you don't want to talk to. And if you don't do this, then you will go publicly move your name and be ashamed. And then you'll get in
Mhm.
trouble with both me and the parents. And so, one, like things that are happening, our kids' nervous system is activated because they're like, well, I don't want to get in trouble. But two, we're putting them in these situations where it's not really helpful to them. Like, if we just say, stop doing that, what are we doing? What's happening? Can you like say what's happening? And if we don't do, okay, pushing feels good. You can't push people. Here's what you can
Mhm.
do. If we don't do that, and the alternative is you don't push, like what's
Mhm.
happening in a child's brain and body?
So, first of all, I like how you said that, it's so controversial because they're trying to take, the easiest, most efficient route, which is not very. It's a top-down approach, it's not a bottom-up approach, right? So, I always say, like, just to remember that nervous system does drive behavior. All of our behaviors are driven by the state of our nervous system. So, if we're in fight or flight, if we're in freeze, shut down, if our sensory system is dysregulated, meaning that we have higher thresholds or lower thresholds and we're either getting too much, like too much sound, I can't tolerate a lot of sound, or my body, my proprioceptive system needs more input to my muscles and joints and tendons in my body. So, really, to explain it simply, like are you asking like how you would intervene in that situation? Like
Well,
how
I
you
guess
would.
I'm asking how it intervene, but like also can you tell like why would it be bad to just say stop doing that? Like what is it bad
Oh,
or like
yes.
what yeah.
So when you're saying like, stop, you're pretty much telling the child that their core need that they have, like their core need of receiving that input is not valid, and you're not taking into consideration that that's like an automatic core need. And if core needs aren't met, like it's kind of like if you're hungry or if you're thirsty or if you're tired, how are you going to be able to be engaged and focused? You can't. It's the same thing. It's like saying, "Oh, you have glasses and you need your glasses to read, but you can't have your glasses to read because you're saying like the sensory tool isn't needed." It's like, "Oh, your glasses aren't needed. Your vision tool isn't needed. Your sensory tool is not needed." And it is important, but because it's invisible and we don't see it and it's hard to objectify it, that's why we often see it being overlooked, or just it's easier to tag it as a behavioral problem, right? Because we see a behavior, but it's a sign from the nervous system that the body needs more to focus. And it's just because we all have different brains, right? And some children need more to focus. Some children get really dysregulated by a lot of different sounds and don't know how to filter it out because their nervous systems are wired differently, which doesn't mean anything bad. Usually, kids who have a hard time filtering things out are they're extremely intelligent because they take in so much information and they have so
Mm.
much more information, but they have a hard time organizing it because there's so much, right? They're taking in like 50% more than maybe their peer, and they seem disorganized. They have it in their brain, but they have a hard time organizing it. And then we see this body dysregulation as a result. So, I mean, I actually was just at a school yesterday giving, in service for teachers to understand this concept so that they can know, like, when the whole classroom's dysregulated, how can they shift them into a lower arousal state with keeping the nervous system in mind and being kind to the brain.
Wow. That's amazing that the school brought you in.
Hmm.
So this when you said, like,
It's
kids
fun.
take in that is fun. When kids
Yeah.
take in more, I feel like I relate to that as a child,
Hmm.
but I wasn't, like, silly. I was just sort of became anxious because know that I felt like I was, like as an adult, I can say this, but I
Yes.
couldn't name it as a kid, but I felt like I was, like, missing a layer of skin. Like, I
Hmm.
felt people's energy, and now I, like, know and I know how to regulate. I put in earplugs if it's
Yes.
too noisy. I have to
Hmm.
pretend I'm on a call at the store because I, like, pick
Yeah.
up people's energies or, like, sounds, and
Yes.
it doesn't make me go, "Whoa, whoa," like, if there's, like, too much sound, but I know that it builds up, and then it makes me irritable later or distracted later. And I'm like
Mhm.
a very regulated adult. And I'm like thinking, first of all, kids, and like the adult has to know that that's what's happening first in order to help
Yes.
them and
Right?
like change it for their child brain.
There's steps, yeah.
Have you ever heard of the term highly sensitive person? It sounded
Yes.
like you were
Mhm.
kind of like it sounded similar to that in what you were describing of like kids taking in more. Is that related at all, or is
Yes, it's highly sensitive kids, their nervous systems are more they take in a lot more and can be more they either could be more sensitive or they could just need more, but typically I feel like highly sensitive, children or individuals just can get overstimulated very easily.
yeah.
So, we kind
I
of look into that as like, as a part of their temperament too, right? Like, are they
mhm,
easygoing? Are they slow, slow to engage, or are they highly sensitive too?
yeah.
So there's, so many different approaches that have kind of categorized it. But yeah, I would say you're right with the
It's
highly sensitive.
I think I think like Dr. Becky like rebranded highly sensitive person as deeply feeling kid. Um
Yes.
and
I like that too. I think you
yeah,
can say, whatever makes the person feel like it resonates with them. I think that's
yeah,
great.
which I
Yeah.
think it was a good rebrand, but I remember
Mhm.
once talking to someone, and I can spot a highly sensitive child, uh, 20 states away.
Yes.
But I think there's not a lot of, like, information around it, and I remember
Mhm.
talking to someone about it, and they were like, "Well, that's not a real thing." And then I was like, "No, it is. It's a personality trait known as sensory processing sensitivity, or SPS." And
Mhm.
I think, like, 20% of people have it, and it's, like, an increased emotional sensitivity. You have, like, stronger reactions to internal
Mhm.
and external stimuli, like pain or like light or hunger or noise.
Yeah, or like being hot or I'm, getting sweaty and getting really frustrated when your heart rate increases because maybe you're anxious about something and that like heartbeat
Yes.
makes you feel like something's wrong. That's something
Yes.
that's because I was and am, I think, and believe like kind of like a highly sensitive person because I overly respond to those internal sensations of like when I'm really hungry or when I'm, nervous and anxious and my heart starts beating a little bit faster because I'm shifting to sympathetic mode. I really sense that and it takes a lot for you to realize that that's not a threat and to tell your nervous system
Yes.
like that's not a threat. I'm going to do things to activate my parasympathetic nervous system, my calming system to calm me down because I know I have like that I can turn on my logic centers and be aware of that. But kids, I mean, they're little. How do they do that? We really have to be there to co-regulate with them for those things.
I know. So I guess the first step is helping parents
Yeah.
understand that, because I think that a lot of people think like there's just either like anxiety or like behavioral problems.
No, yeah.
And I learned, like, as an adult, as a self-diagnosed highly sensitive
Yes.
person, I don't have anxiety, actually. I just
Yeah.
feel the world.
Yes.
And I'm not like where anxiety is like, oh no, what if, what if, what if, what if, what if? And it's like, it's not that. It feels
That's
because
me.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but like you would probably say like in our conversations, I'm
Yeah.
more like, nope, it's fine. Nope, this is what we're doing. Like,
Yeah.
don't worry about that. This is how, and I'm like, so I just realized it at like age 34 that I don't have anxiety. I just take in a lot of information and I have a lot of information. And I
Mhm.
know that I need a lot of alone time to regulate that information. So
Mhm.
if we have kids like us, like that we're working with, how do we we're like two functioning adults that get up at
Yeah.
5 a.m. that are like, this is
Yes.
how I regulate my nervous system. And I
Yes.
know that I need to work alone and
Yes.
so how do we put that into, say, a family who has 4 kids and their 6-year-old? And this podcast is the first they're ever hearing, like,
Yes.
oh, maybe that's why my 6-year-old throws food at dinner after just being perfectly happy and having a perfect day. And it's like, what happened? We were having, and the dad goes, we were having such a good day. Why did you have to ruin everything? And then
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Yes. So, one of the things that I talk about in my courses and my guides is proactive regulation, because we
Okay.
could all benefit from proactive regulation, which pretty much means that you build in regulating activities to your routines. So, especially if you have a lot of people in your family, it's easier just to build something into your routine than to be like, okay, we're gonna like do a timeout, we're gonna do like a sensory activity, which sometimes you can do that if you're home and you have like unstructured playtime or whatever, and you can add those things in, but usually families are very busy and on the go. So, proactive regulation is when you insert regulating activities to your routines. There are three systems of the sensory system that are main regulators that can have a high influence on helping the nervous system and sensory system be more balanced, and that is proprioceptive input, which is also known as heavy work. So
Oh,
anything
I love
where you're
heavy work.
Yes, yes. So anything active that a child is pushing, pulling, carrying, and it really helps when it's functional and there's an end goal and it's purposeful. Because if you're just like, just push this around, it's not, it doesn't really engage that higher level of the brain. And we're trying to connect, right? We're trying to connect that logic center to that, lower part of the brain, or you said maybe it's called lizard part of the brain. Now I have to look
Oh
this
yeah.
up after to say
I
it.
actually
Um,
did just look it up if you want to know what it is.
I do, yes.
This is from Psychology Today. It says the part of the brain that is very primal, many people call the lizard brain, because the limbic system is about all a lizard has for brain function. It's in charge of fight,
Ah,
flight, feeding, fear, freezing up, and fornication.
well, that's all autonomic. So yes, it is the lizard part of the brain.
Okay, good, good, good.
Okay,
So
great,
now we
great.
know.
Yes, now we know the lizard part of the brain. So,
Is heavy work why now I'm sorry, this is actually you're just becoming a therapist to me, but why sometimes I have so much to do, and especially when I had my storefront, I guess I would feel overwhelmed with how much I had to do. I was running the company. I had 12 teachers teaching my method. I had enrollment to do. I had sales. I had all this, but I loved to be in the back and put together a bookshelf. And that was like the dumbest thing for me to do as the CEO of the company, but it just feels so good to be like, I finished a task because
yes.
everything else was like ongoing, but I could start and complete the bookshelf.
Yes. And
Is
that
that
takes a lot less brain energy, I like to call it, is like, the fuel for your brain that keeps all of the other parts of the brain functioning, like executive functioning, all those higher level. You took doing the bookshelf, and it's repetitive, right? Our brain likes things that are repetitive, rhythmic, predictable. We like things that we've already done and we know how to do because it's easier to execute. So you actually took time for your brain to be in a safe state to do a repetitive activity that engaged your proprioceptive system through heavy work to start and complete a task that you know that you could be successful in. You knew there wasn't going to be anything where you'd really have to problem solve around it. And so, yes, that is why it can be a really like almost like a mindfulness activity in itself, right? Because you are just focusing on doing that one task and you're taking away all of the other like the multitasking, where you have to do a lot of problem solving and shifting your brain a lot. That didn't take a lot of that brain energy out of you.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay, so we
Yeah.
can give kids heavy work.
Yes. And you can build it into your routines by having them be the helper and participate in like, whatever it may be. Like maybe with Daniela, sometimes she would come over to me and I'm like trying to switch out the laundry and she's like, Mommy, and she wants me to play with her. And I'm like, oh, like I'll just have her pull out the laundry into the laundry basket and put it into the dryer. And we did it together. And I'm giving her that sense of proprioception in her body while she's engaging with me. We're getting the connection, we're building connection, and we're doing a functional task together. And again, she's stimulating that sense. So that's a way that you could build in regulation into the day. But often we're moving so fast and we're like, let me just do this and get it done. But we really need to like lean into those, those moments. Another thing I had her do would like, I give her the tower in the kitchen and I'm like, oh, you can like, why don't you sort out the silverware? That can be, you're lifting and you're sorting and it's easy, right? You're matching. At her age, I knew that that's something that she could do. That's another really great example. I actually have a whole 10-page heavy work handout
Oh,
that's free. So if anyone wants
let's
to,
link it in the show
yeah,
notes.
let's link it. Yeah. And it goes by age too. So like, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it's like 6 and above or something like that. Yeah.
Do you have anything
So
for 34?
I think you're doing good. Do your
Oh, thank you.
yoga. Yoga's like a mix of like vestibular and proprioceptive because your head position is changing, you
Okay,
might be
shoot.
downward. Yeah. So it's good to mix sensations too. Yeah.
Sometimes yoga though feels, maybe this is just my body telling me what I need, but like I do like yoga, but sometimes I'm like, I need to move more. I need to be faster. I need to be like throwing the big
Yes.
balls down at the gym. I need to be like
Yeah.
deadlifting 200. Like is that
Maybe
just,
because you have a higher threshold for that proprioceptive input and movement, vestibular input.
does
And
that have,
maybe it's hard for you to slow your body down because you seek
no,
that.
I really seek that. Oh my gosh. I really seek
Yeah.
that. And is that
But
have
you know what?
anything?
It is good to do that though, to be able to be in that present moment because it really helps with, your nervous system being comfortable with being in a parasympathetic state where you're not, because when you're in fight or flight or sympathetic, you might be in sympathetic when you're exercising because your heart rate's increased, your blood
Yeah.
pressure's increased, all those things are increased because it has to, the nervous system has to shift into sympathetic so that you can exercise, which is healthy. It's healthy stress, right?
Yeah.
So, but sometimes, and this used to be me too before I had my daughter, is I
Mhm.
always wanted those really high intense workouts and I was like, I'm not doing anything if I'm not doing it. But
Yeah.
now I'm trying to find peace and even just like walking, which you do walking too. So you are
Oh
doing
yeah.
it. It's probably harder for you to stay still during the yoga because you have a lot of things on your mind. And so your brain's moving fast. It's not matching with your body. So it's probably not regulating to you.
Yeah, I do walk though. You know what? I walk like an hour in the morning, so maybe that's,
Yeah. That's your thing.
but
Just have to
also,
find the right
yeah,
activity.
and I do like yoga like after I do a workout, but I do, does it have
Yeah.
anything to do with, like when some kids like go from being like just talking and they're like, "Oh," they like kind of like grind their teeth and squeeze their hands. Is that like
Yeah.
sort of part of it? Like when they're like, "I need more right now."
Yeah, maybe because sometimes what happens is children, I feel like, internalize a lot of their sensory and needs and
Mm,
dysregulation because they know that there's a demand in the environment that they have to meet. That's why we see this like post school, what is it,
the
collapse
strength
syndrome, or this like
collapse.
this post school meltdown is because all day we're around people that aren't as familiar and safe to us, right? They're safe, they're our teachers and they're our friends, but like at home, it's like our ultimate safe place. So at school,
Yeah.
I have to kind of keep it together. And so I'm kind of internalizing this dysregulation so that when I get home, I kind of lose it because
Yeah.
I didn't have a chance to, it's like call it emptying my regulation bucket to keep it balanced because things have been going into it all day. I had a new
Yes.
demand. I had a fight with my friend. I didn't get to eat all my lunch. All these things are
Yeah.
filling up the bucket. You get home and the bucket spills over because you didn't have time to empty out your bucket at school.
Oh,
And maybe you got in the car and maybe you just needed to take your shoes off and have no music or whatever that is. Sensory strategies don't always have to be giving kids things. It could be removing things, right? Like if we're overwhelmed at the end of the day, you might feel this. Sometimes I'm like, I can feel my necklace like it's choking me. All
yes.
of a sudden I notice that my necklace is really tight on me. And it's because now my sensory system can't tolerate that touch anymore because I'm overwhelmed and overstimulated and maybe I didn't take a break or do anything to regulate my nervous system throughout the day. It's
Oh,
kind of like the same thing. Maybe you just get in the car and you're taking away, like, take off your shoes. We're not going to have any sound, or maybe you just want your favorite song that you always listen to and it's predictable and it's calming to you. So it's really just
yeah.
fine tuning the schedule and the routines to to help children feel kind of safe and for their brains to not feel like they have any more demands at that point.
Okay, so that's funny. When you just said getting in the car, my brother-in-laws say that this is a my last name is Gaskill, and they're like, this is a gas girl. They call us the gas girls. This is a gas girl trait that like as soon as we leave an event, we get in the car and we like do and we all three do it. Like we kind of like it's like our like bodies like regulate and like we kind of like it's like a chill and it's like a
Yeah.
and like you kind of like have to like
Yeah.
squeeze the person and you're like there's no words. It's not even like if it was
Yeah.
good or if it was bad. It's just like "Woo!" Is that
Yeah. Because it
is
was like really hard. Yeah. That definitely is related, I would say.
wow, that's
That's
embarrassing.
so
My
funny.
sisters
Wait,
are gonna
no, I love that.
why are we all
Wait,
like that?
because I think that a lot of people will relate to that. And I've had moments too where I've been like, you get done doing something and you're like, you just like shake or you just like,
Yes.
or you like go eat like a really crunchy snack or you like suck down a Coke, Diet Coke or something. Like you're trying to do whatever you do, but
Wait,
it's
the
intense.
crunchy snack thing I've never thought of, but, like, sometimes when I stay up really late, like, working, like, last night I had we were working late, and it was, like, 2:30 in the morning, and I needed
Mhm.
to have peanut butter pretzels before I went to bed. Like, I was not
Yes.
hungry, but I needed to.
Yes, it's the crunch because if you think about it, again, proprioceptive input to your mouth is chewing. So chewing and crunching on a crunchy snack or, like sucking down a smoothie through a straw that's thick, that really takes a lot of contraction of your, the muscles in your mouth and you're getting that oral input, that is proprioceptive input to your mouth. And there's a lot of emotions tied into that too, right? Because we call it emotional eating and I call it sensory eating
Oh
because
my
it
god.
is kind of sensory eating too. Like you can't forget about the sensory system because they're actually tied right to each other as a part of the limbic system. Here's a little science fact because like I'm very like science based
I'm like, yeah.
is that the first relay center for sensory processing is the thalamus, is a part of like the limbic system. So it's like as soon as you process the sensory input, it runs through and there's signals activated in the limbic system to kind of like tie, how do I feel about this? Like, is this something that my sensory system didn't like? So I might be like kind of angry or sad when I'm feeling this. So we're making all these associations in our emotion center and our limbic center while we're processing sensory input. And that's why sometimes when people have like traumatizing events, we have these big emotions and we're confused. We're like, how can we walk past this thing? And this child gets this visual cue and they automatically have this nervous system response of like your heart starts racing. And it's like, oh, because they have like, either trauma or they made a brain association about it. And now that's like imprinted in their nervous system. We always say like what wires together fires together. And
Yes.
so if something's wired, have you heard of that before?
Oh, yeah, I say it all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to say that. I kind of got off on a tangent.
No,
Sorry.
I
I
love
can
it.
kind of, la, la, la.
This podcast, I'm actually changing the name of the whole podcast from Play on Words to It's Just a Tangent. Um, hot takes only.
Yes.
Fire together and wire together. This is actually
Yeah.
what I wanted to ask you next. It is
Yes.
connected to this. So I often talk about in writing that kids' hands are not ready to write every letter yet. Like, so if we hand a
Yes.
3-year-old a pencil or a crayon and we like to
Yes.
have them start writing letters, I have this graphic that I often share about like strokes, pre-writing strokes. And usually they can't write all of the strokes, like certain like diagonal lines. And people don't understand this. They're like, well, why could they write a vertical line and not diagonal? It's like, that's a different set of muscles.
Yeah.
um,
And
but
visual motor skills too, right? Like
yeah.
scanning and crossing midline, all of those things
Oh, crossing the
for
midline, like this is
diagonals.
yeah, this stuff is like what we do with babies and like those little like songs and stuff, it's like that's what we're getting
Yes.
them ready for. It's not like it's
Yes.
just silly and cute. But
No.
I
We have to
usually will
continue that.
yes, I usually
Yes.
will say the neurons that fire together wire together about writing because I want to remind parents and teachers that if they push something that their child isn't ready for, what they're doing is like we're introducing writing and we're introducing that this is hard, our hands aren't ready, our brain's not ready. And so we're wiring like writing is hard together. Like
Yes. Yes,
So
or I can't do this or this, and maybe they don't have the skills yet to do it. And so then they
yes,
make that association of I can't do this. So
yes,
now we have this emotion tied to it. And now we have this fear of failure tied to it. And
yes,
that causes dysregulation. And that shifts us into sympathetic. And that causes us,
yes.
challenges accessing that logical part of our brain.
Okay,
So the
yes,
whole,
the whole gamut.
whole, yes.
Is that the phrase?
Oh, hey, it's me interrupting myself to tell you if you're liking what you're listening to, then you're probably going to love my Big City Readers on Demand courses. If you've ever wondered, why is that word spelled with a G and not a J? Well, it's not just random. There's a reason for that. And you'll learn that in my spelling rules for second graders course. If you've ever wondered what letters to teach in what order to your preschooler, yeah, I teach you that in my preschool course too. If you've ever wondered what your kindergartner should be able to write or draw, or if your toddler's scribbles matter and how to guide them to the next step, yep, you guessed it. All of my on-demand courses teach you exactly how to do this. I am sort of obsessed with talking about the learning to read and write journey because I feel like there's so much misinformation about it. So I've dedicated my life to making sure that there's more clear, cut, fun information, and you can help your child and yourself by getting one of these courses. They are jam-packed into 15-minute on-demand lessons, and you're going to feel confident, your child's going to feel confident, and be warned, this is no exaggeration, at least 20 parents have told me that at parent-teacher conferences, their teacher has said, "Oh, are you a reading specialist?" with the kind of questions they ask. So you're going to learn a lot. Your child's going to learn a lot. You're both going to feel confident. I promise you. This is really all I think about ever. Wow, I sound kind of boring when I say it like that. But anyway, check out the Big City Readers on Demand courses. Let me know if you need any help deciding what the right course for your child is. And also, let me know how the lessons are going if you're already doing them. Okay, back to the episode.
I was
I
like, she finished it for me because I was trying to find the word.
No, I never my friend always is like, "You say the wrong term." And I was like, "Well, that's why you're my fact checker." Uh, you didn't say we'd be fact checking. Um, so, I've been using that line a lot.
That's a good laugh.
So so I, okay, so I have a friend who was talking to me about her 7-year-old, and
Mhm,
she really is having a lot of emotional outbursts, and they started going to therapy.
mhm,
And she said, but she was describing things, and then she was also, I did, like, we did a reading lesson together, and I said, "Okay, so I noticed that she's writing her letters from the bottom and not the top."
mhm,
And, I know, and I was saying to my friend, I was like, "I know it seems like that doesn't really matter if she's getting the job done, but
mhm,
it's really connected to a lot of things that kids are doing." So if
mhm,
we see this, we see them write their name and whatever, we see the
mhm.
name, they did it. So a lot of people think, "Great, they did it." And then they're like, "Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, this reading teacher is picking apart that they need to write their letters from the top." But I was explaining to my friend that I was like, there's these moments throughout the day, right? So if your child is writing their letters from the bottom, we don't see it, but in those split seconds, they are processing, thinking about, how do I write this letter? They're okay, what am I going to do here? Then they also have to think about how to spell the word. They also have to think about, then their creative process gets interrupted. They can't remember the sentence they wanted to write. It
yeah,
adds to that frustration. And she was like, "Well, actually, our therapist just said that the emotional outbursts we're seeing are connected to her writing, and now we're going to see an OT." And was like, "Oh,
that's great.
okay." So,
Yeah,
do you, and does that make sense to you, or, like,
yes.
how can you explain that for us?
Well, I think that also, OTs, we work on executive functioning skills. And I think that we know executive functioning skills are tied to sensory processing because in order for us to be able to, again, access that higher level thinking, our nervous system and our sensory system has to be regulated. And so maybe by front loading regulation to her and having her understand how her brain is thinking and how what's happening within her body physically when she's experiencing these like big emotions because she's becoming frustrated, that she'll be able to regulate better. Because first, again, we started talking about the steps, and I think we got
Oh, I
off topic,
forgot.
but again,
Sorry.
it's okay. No, it's okay. I forgot too until we started talking about this. But the first step is like knowing your triggers and noticing dysregulation patterns. And so if I'm noticing that I'm always becoming extremely emotional and frustrated during this task, maybe there is an executive functioning challenge that the child has, or maybe it's a regulation thing where it's like I have a hard time tuning out things and focusing because this skill's hard. So maybe we need to like build the skill underneath it. Maybe we need to add in some regulation, and maybe there's a strategy that we can use to help us with executive functioning in that. Like maybe there's a sequence that you do it because there's so many things happening at once. And OTs are really notorious for breaking down things into tasks. We do like task analysis, and we break tasks down into tiny like steps that you probably wouldn't even think of that
Mhm.
happen, whether it's in your brain or motor wise. And then we help modify or support that skill so that the whole task can be done. So I think that it's super important. And I think that, I mean, I feel like OT should be in like a pediatrician office. I feel like OTs
Mhm.
need to be in more places than we are because it's such a unique thing to break those things down and to really get down to the root of what's causing, either a challenge or frustration or dysregulation or whatever. But yes, I do think that that's wonderful for her to see an OT just because she probably needs some sensory regulation, maybe some support in executive functioning, and then emotional regulation and knowing how. This is what I work with kids too, is like knowing how my body feels physically when I'm experiencing emotion so that I know how I can maybe, if I'm feeling really hot and sweaty, maybe I just need to take a break, take a sip of water, and take a breath because those things help cool my body down. When I'm physically feeling something, we always feel something physical before we actually think about how we feel about it, right? Before we get to cognitively assess or understand what that means to us emotionally, we're usually feeling something physically first. But we're not always like aware of that.
Yeah. Wow.
Does that
O
make sense?
Oh, yeah, everything you say makes sense.
You were so funny.
Thank you. Uh, I'm serious. Oh, good. Okay. So I don't even know where to go from here. I have some segments that I've been adding
Okay.
to the podcast because I wanna have some
Yes.
regulation on it. I could go to that, but were there any loose
Yes.
ends that we didn't finish talking about?
Oh,
The other
so
steps?
I think you're right about like, the pre-writing skills, like
Hmm.
having the pre-writing strokes, because in order for children to form letters, they need to form lines, they need to form shapes so that they know how to form letters, because those are way more complex, and just how like the visual system develops and visual motor and how everything ties in, right? Crossing midline, all of those things. We have to be able to have, again, the prerequisite skill. And I hear you talk about this in a lot of your posts about like, we're kind of missing those foundational skills and we're expecting the child to have this advanced skill when they don't have the prerequisite skill. So I think that's important. Oh, we talked about like hand positioning for writing, and I
Oh,
have
yeah.
2 tips if you want to hear
Yes,
them from my
please.
perspective. So sometimes kids or whoever, like whether it's like a first grader or if it's younger, they'll either hold their pencil like or marker like this,
Like a
or
fist
they
grip.
might, yes, this, or they'll like kind of do like a pronate where they're like this. And sometimes they'll do 4 fingers, which is fine if it's functional, but if they're not able to manipulate it right, we want to separate the hand, because the hand is actually made to be separated. If you like put your finger and you squoze your finger and you let go of your ring and small finger, you would notice you have like no grip strength, because these 2 fingers are meant for stabilizing and these are meant for moving. These are like your fine motor. So we want to separate the hand. So what you can do is just tuck something into your stabilizers and then place the pen there so that it's easier, like you have some kind of feedback in your hand to
I have a
stabilize so
video
that
about this I'm gonna link.
okay, yes. And then also, you probably know this too, but writing on a vertical surface is good because I used to be a hand therapist before I did pediatrics. And so because I'm just going to get a little science for fun, because the muscles that make us make a fist and extend our fingers cross our wrist. When we position our wrist, we can it creates tension on our tendons so that it puts us into a functional position. So like when we bring our wrist back, it automatically brings us, look at, into this position so if we're writing vertically, we're already putting us at a mechanical advantage for like better handwriting. And I would always tell parents, like, just try vertical surface and you might see better motor control. And then the child may be able to obtain the skill because you're putting them in a mechanical advantage for them to start, creating those connections in the brain for how to do those motor patterns when writing. Isn't that
Courtney,
interesting?
that is interesting. I used to do this with a little girl that I tutored, and she like hated writing, and so I would tape the piece of paper to the window and have
Uh-huh.
her write there because I was like,
Yes.
she doesn't have the hand strength. I know that it's in her hand strength. And she was like in second grade, and I was like, she didn't want to do
Yes.
like the tiny things like play with blocks, but
Yeah.
but I also used to teach a live toddler class, and it was like
Mm-hmm.
very like sensory. It was like a different theme every week, and I would flip the
Mm-hmm.
table over and put saran wrap all around the legs and let them
Mm-hmm.
paint like upward.
Yes.
So it wasn't
Vertical
like
play
sitting
is
at the
so
table.
important. Yes.
That makes me, I
Because if
just
you
feel
think
like I
about it,
got,
like sometimes if the table's like either too high or too low, like your wrist isn't extended. It has to be somewhat extended. Otherwise, you're
yes,
trying to use the wrong muscles for motor planning. So that doesn't make any sense, right?
it doesn't. Okay, I have a
No.
question for you. I
Yeah.
I once I my mom my mom once sent me this meme on Facebook, or she like saw it on Facebook, such like a boomer mom sentence, right? Like she sent this to like my whole family group text, which by the way, like, do you have 50 family group texts where it's like, why is somebody starting a
Yes.
new one? Like what this is like, well,
Yes.
this is one that didn't have John in it because we were planning his birthday, and this is one we didn't have the husbands in it. And it's like, please
Yes.
send me an email. um
Yes. Well, because you don't want to send the wrong text to the wrong group. That would not be
Oh,
good.
well, you know what? I have a huge family, and I like my parents didn't like they didn't invite me to family vacation because they sent it in the wrong group
Oh
text.
my gosh.
Well, like that's the risk you run with having like
Yeah.
10 kids. Like it's
Yes.
like I don't I'm pretty easygoing because I this is why I probably don't take a lot of things personally because I'm like, I think my family wanted me there. And I'm like pretty sure that wasn't on purpose. Where I have like a
Yeah.
lot of friends who are like, are you mad at me? I'm like, no, I will tell you if I am mad at you. Don't ask.
Yes. Wait, I love that because that's me. And when you posted that today in your story about like if you're putting that energy out, like what do you expect, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, like don't like make people think they're mad at you. They're not.
Yes. Well, because it's sort of even like talking to kids too. If you say like, "What's wrong?" Your kid is gonna go, "Well, what is wrong?" Like, and
Yeah.
I'm not saying like
Yeah, that's
don't
true.
ask, but like people always say like, "Oh, what's wrong?" And then your brain wants to answer the question. So it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Or even like I once saw this. I took to camp. I used to do a lot of camp stuff, but I took these adults with special needs to camp as an adult, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember this, in like high school and college, there's always like a come to Jesus night where like everyone's like
Mm-hmm.
crying, and I don't know,
Yes.
it wasn't particularly religious, but there's always like something, like some moment
Yeah.
like that emotional. And I
Yes.
remember the girls, the women that I was leading, like were like 22 and they were like crying too. And I was like, what? Jen, I was like, Jen, what is it? And she was like, my grandma died when I was a baby. And it was like she saw other people crying and she was looking for the,
Yeah.
okay, well, what could I cry about? Where like
Yes.
the neurotypical teens and early 20s
Yeah.
people were like having like other connections. But like, so I think about
Yeah.
that and how like if we say
Yeah.
like, well, what's wrong? It's like, well, okay, wait, what could be wrong? What could I say?
Yeah.
So your brain will look. So I like to
It's
say, what's
true.
right? What's right?
That's right. I like that.
Yeah, that's what
I'm
I
gonna
do to
use
my
that
own
phrase.
brain. Yeah. Hey, what went right today?
Again, you need to write a book about all this because it's very valuable. I'm serious.
Thank you. Okay, maybe I will.
Yes. I remember the one thing I was talking to my husband about. I was like, just like Beth said, force meets force is resistance,
Yes.
right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, force is
And we were
always met with
talking
resistance.
resistance, yes. And so I was like, oh yeah, just like that. And he was like, what? And I was like, oh, like you weren't there, you wouldn't get it. But it was like me like processing. And I was just like, yeah, she's got a lot of good, theories and whatnot. So,
I have a very complicated brain.
but it's so valuable.
Thank you. It's like a
I
curse.
think analytically, your perspective is so different. And it's like things that we should know, but we don't know. And the way that it's explained it's like, oh, light bulb. Like, yes, that is it. And it's very helpful.
Oh, thank you. Wow, you
Yes.
just tell me that every day and maybe I'll start writing
I
books.
will. Yeah. Let's have a meeting every morning. 15 minutes is a part of your routine.
Okay, but what I was gonna say though is my mom sent this
Yes.
thing, and
Oh,
this
yes.
is
Yes.
coming back to OT, and then I'll rapid fire our last questions.
Yep.
But my
Okay.
mom sent this thing that I guess like 1% of the population. Again, this is something she saw on Facebook, but 1% of the population can do. Oh, okay. So you hold 3 fingers up, and you know how like
Mhm.
you would hold number 3, but like then can you put your pinky over your thumb to hold up 3? Oh, you can't do it. But that, like, only,
Wait,
like,
what is
1%
it?
of the population can hold all I can't either, can hold all 3 fingers up with their pinky over the thumb.
Oh, these.
Yeah, but your
Like
pinky
this?
has to be, like, curled over.
Oh. Oh, I know why.
Why?
Because some people, yes. So this is my hand therapy. So this tendon, this is called FDP. It's flexor digitorum profundus. This one that flexes this, and it's a second joint in each finger is called FDS. It's superficialis. Some people don't have it in the pinky, right? Look, I can't see how I can isolate this
Yeah?
in these ones, and the top doesn't bend, but I can't do it here because I probably don't have an FDS tendon, and that's kind of normal sometimes.
Wait, so
Like
but
I
I
can,
like
but
this?
this,
Like that tendon?
no, it's this second one.
Oh,
So
the
the second one
second.
in this finger, some people just have an FDP and they don't have an
Oh.
FDS. Isn't that interesting?
Oh,
So it's
that
your anatomy.
you figured it out. Okay, because like, okay, so then in the comments, this video went viral. I mean, like, there's, like, millions of views and hundreds
Yeah.
of thousands of comments.
If any hand therapists CHT saw it, they'd be like, "Oh, it's because they don't have an FDS."
Well, so I
Maybe
posted it, and I'm
they
like,
might
no
say
one in
that.
my family could do it. Like, one of my
Mhm.
brother-in-laws could do it, and then, like, everybody in
Mhm.
the comments is like, "I can do it," and I'm like, "You guys are lying because I've never met anybody that can do this in real life." So,
Yeah.
like, now you have to start asking people if they can do it.
Yeah.
That's gonna become one of my
I'm like have to
segments.
look it up now, like fifth finger FDS. I'm like going back into it.
You know what? You should stitch the video, my video on Instagram and explain that because it's, like, viral, so people would probably love people love to, like, pile on a viral video.
Oh yeah, it says that there's anomalies and there's interconnection. So some of these FDS tendons may be interconnected with the fourth finger, so the fifth finger may not get that transfer of force. Isn't that interesting?
It's very interesting. Everything you
Mhm.
say is very
Me.
interesting. Okay,
It's the
so
science, sorry.
no, I love it. Never say sorry for science. Oh my gosh, should I make a shirt that says that?
Yes, please do.
I have to write that down before I forget.
Yeah, write it down. Never say sorry for science.
Seriously.
You
Okay.
better trademark that.
I, you know, okay,
Thanks.
segments. Okay, 1. What are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now?
Yeah, like, are you reading anything for fun?
Oh, no, just journal articles.
Oh, Courtney, this is something that I used to do too, and now it's
I
really good for
know.
your brain to get lost in a story. So
I
I now
can't.
make myself read fiction. You should start by just listening on Audible.
Maybe, yeah, like in my car.
Maybe
I
for
should.
like 10 minutes a day.
Mhm.
It'll be
Maybe.
really good for you.
I know, but then I might do it all day and I have to, research.
You could
I'm a
just do
researcher.
10 minutes, same. And actually, will you just start sending me what you're reading every day?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, I
great.
will.
Okay, well, that segment sucked.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
It's just honest.
okay, so as millennials, wait, you're a millennial, right?
Mhm.
We grew up during a time when learning to read often looked different from like what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Have you noticed this come to fruition in your life or in your child's life? Have you started to see that? And I explain this basically with the do you watch New Girl?
Yeah, I've watched it before, yeah.
Okay, so Nick Miller has this like famous line where he says, "I don't think I know how to read. I just memorized a bunch of words."
Yes.
And that's basically like the premise of everything that I talk about. And so I
Yes.
ask people that when they're like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "Do you watch New Girl?" What Nick Miller said is accurate for a lot of the way that millennials learned how to read. It's
Yes.
hopefully different than what's going to start to be like the norm. Anyway, do you have any
Yeah,
thoughts
no,
on that?
I think you're so like, that is so true because I was talking to my husband about this when we were on a walk the other day, a couple days ago, or maybe last week, but it's like the reading comprehension section of all of my testing was always so poor because it was like I never the way that I read was different, or the way that you know what I'm saying? Like I would read it and then I wouldn't remember it. I would remember chunks. Like it was like phrases, and it wasn't really like I wasn't really making meaning of it because it was a chunk and the chunk meant something different to me. That
Yeah.
always makes me think, am I a gestalt cognitive processor? Because that's why I like science. I like to memorize the chunks and memorize those things, because then it makes me wonder, oh, does that mean that my brain is wired differently and I read differently because of how my brain's wired? Or is it because of how I was taught? Because there's that
Yeah.
too. But I do think that reading, I haven't enjoyed it like other people do, and it may be because like I have a hard time like keeping up with the story. Maybe because it's of the way that I learned how to read, or maybe it's because of my interest in the book. I don't know. But with my daughter, I noticed she will memorize like the book. Like she won't even be looking at it, and she'll like look at me and just repeat like the line in the book because she
Yeah.
memorizes it. Or like she'll look at the book and see a picture, and like she'll like it's like I don't know that she's not reading the word, but I know that she knows the picture of it, or she like. So
Yeah.
it's like she's starting to group photos with words, but is she able to like break it down? And I think that that's hard. That's more like analytical
Yeah, but
reading,
also she's
maybe.
still
I don't
little,
know.
right? Is she 4?
She's 3. She'll be
Oh,
4
yeah,
in
that's
January.
that's that's fine. From the
Yes.
reading perspective, I say that's fine.
Yes.
But
Hmm.
okay, interesting. And then,
Yes.
last thought, last question. What is something surprising that you keep in your car?
Surprising that I keep in
I didn't
my
tell you
car.
any of the questions I was gonna ask
You
you, so
didn't.
I like to
Well,
surprise everybody.
okay. Well, thank you. This is fun because it's really making me think. So, I mean, my car, I don't really have anything surprising, but what I always bring with me and keep one in my car and one in my bag and one everywhere is one of these things. Because, like, I have to have one of these to
Yeah.
focus when I'm talking. Because, again, like, your brain likes that repetitive, predictable input to your hand so that your brain can access the higher level thinking and or be organized in how you speak and be able to recall things. And so this is one of the things that I always keep with me. Now my husband and daughter want to steal them, so I just keep ordering more.
Can you send us the link? Because I'm like, will I
Yes,
sound smarter if I am holding one of those? Like, I mean, will
you
it make my
already
brain
sound very smart, but it might
thank
help
you.
your brain feel more organized.
My
Like this
brain
whole
does
time I
feel
had this pattern. I'd pull it, I'd make a little thing around my finger, and then I'd crush it.
you are so
That was
smart.
my sequence, like
Does
this.
it I like
And
it.
then
Does it ever get
not fun.
exhausting to think so much? Do you ever, like, wish that you were just like, "Can I be a chill person and not analyze everything
I
that's happening?"
do. I do, and I think it bothers my husband sometimes too. He's like, "It didn't have to be that complex." I'm like, "But this is why she did this. My daughter is because of these factors and blah 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 blah." And he's like, "Oh wow, okay."
I know,
But
I
yeah,
like
it is kind of exhausting. Maybe that's where the reading just for fun would be good for me.
that's what
It
I
might help.
mean.
It might
Yeah.
help, right?
I try really hard. Sometimes I'm really trying in my personal life to not be like, if a friend says, "Oh, this makes me sound like such a weirdo. Oh, in therapy, I was talking about this." And I go, "Yes, we've talked about that before. Remember, you do this because of this, and it's because of this wound that is in your attachment style." And yeah,
Yeah.
and actually, a good exercise would be to do this. I'm like, why can't I just be like, "Cool, let's get margaritas."
Yeah. Wait, I wonder if it's just like maybe like the neurodivergency,
Yeah,
right? Like, for
yeah.
me, I think that too because it's like, "Oh, well, I have to go through all the analytics."
Oh my gosh. Yes, you're right. It could
Yes,
be that because I do
yes, we need the confirmation.
we need the
That's a
confirmation.
clarify.
Yes,
Yes,
and kids do
yes.
too. Everyone feels
They
really
do.
secure with clear well, I was gonna say boundaries, but
Expectations.
expectations, yeah, and
Expectations and directions and
yes.
communication. Yes.
I heard someone say the other day, "Don't say, 'Did you hear me?' to a kid, say, 'Tell me what you heard.'" And
Ooh, another one. You need to have just like like a list of like, don't say what's wrong, say what's good or
what's
what's,
right.
and then what's the one you just said?
Um, what did I just say? People on my teachers used to just record me talking because they would go, hold on. I know that no one's going to remember what you just said. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And then they would like
Luckily,
say
it's
it.
recorded.
Luckily it's recorded. What did I just say? Oh,
I don't even know.
instead of saying,
Yes.
what did I just say? Say, tell me what you
Say
heard.
what you heard. Yes. I
Yeah.
love that.
Okay. I'm going to
It's
start
all about
writing that down.
change. I feel like it's like rewiring and changing the way that we communicate with each other, right? And like how we understand instead of making it it's almost like always negative instead of being like, well, what did you hear? Instead of being like, did you understand me? It's like, oh, well, I heard this. Maybe I missed 50% of what you said, but I still heard 50%. Can you fill in the rest so that I understand it?
This is so true and actually like so relevant to parenting and kids because I think that we think like parents say you need to behave when you're here. What the heck
Yeah.
does behave mean?
Yes.
Have you ever outlined what behave means? And what if my idea, me, a 4-year-old, is different than your idea of behave? You're just
Yeah.
giving me this vague word and telling me
Yeah.
to know what it means. And it's like your expectations of behave are different than my
Yeah.
teacher's expectations of
Yeah.
behave are different than my gym
Hmm.
teacher's expectation. What do you mean
That's
behave? And
true.
now I'm just going to go to school with this big question mark of they told me to behave. And I actually don't even know what that means. And
No.
I
Again, increasing that anxiety, right? That
the
you talked about of
anxiety.
like, yes, and being like, okay, I don't know, are the demands the same? Are they different? I have to remember what the demands are in each one instead of just knowing what works for me and how to advocate for myself so that I do,
Oh, teaching kids to
you know.
advocate for themselves, huge. I would say that's a big thing to remember for parents. Like you
Mhm.
can't protect your kids from everything, but you can teach them how to regulate and advocate.
Mhm. Ooh, regulate and advocate.
Wow, I gotta write that one down too.
I know.
Um, actually I saw the behave one in action because my sister was talking with him about like, okay, I want you to behave when we're here, blah blah blah. And he goes, and it and if I'm bad, the bees will get me from the
Oh,
behave. Like a beehive.
B.
Beehive.
Oh,
And
and he thought
maybe this
that.
is my neurodivergence because I'm always analyzing like why they're saying the things that they do. Like, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, he thought you meant beehive, and he didn't
Yeah.
know what the word
So
was.
cute.
I know, and I
Oh.
another example of this is I had a friend and I hadn't seen her daughter in like a year, and she was like,
Mhm.
"Sarah, do you remember Miss Beth?" And she was like, "No." And then like, like later I was like,
No.
"Okay, no." And I was like, "Sarah, do you remember my name?" And she goes, "No." Shower, and everybody laughed, and I go to my friend, I go, "Do you have any other friends named Beth?" And she's like, "No." And I go, "She doesn't know that word Beth. She thought you said bath, or she thought I said bath, and she connected it, and she
Oh,
stored it as shower." Isn't that funny?
yeah, that is funny. But
So, like,
that's so interesting. It's like we're so busy making assumptions of things that we're like, "What did you hear?" Instead, like that whole concept.
exactly.
It blows my mind.
And I
And with
think
the whole behavior thing too is like now it's like, okay, I have to behave, but maybe I behave by looking to my like, authoritative figure to see if like I'm making them happy. So now are we just only looking to people please or are we only looking to like get, recognition from or like, acceptance from an older person and now I don't even know how to behave without that on my own or, behave or how to like regulate or how to function because I'm just used to checking in with other people to make sure that they're happy.
oh,
I think that's me.
100%.
Actually, I think that's me.
I used to be
I
like
just
that.
figured it out.
You just figured it's
Yes, you
funny,
told
people in my life are surprised when I say I used to be like that know me, like, now. They're like, "I
I could
can't imagine."
never imagine you like that.
Really?
No, never.
Well, that's good. I mean, I guess that's, like, a
Yeah.
good reminder that we can change because I used to
Yes.
be, like, anxious, seeming, like, worried, people pleasing, and
Mhm.
now I'm like, to my haters. But back to the behavior thing in the classroom is I
Yes,
think
yes.
also, like, a good reminder this episode is so long, but, is a good reminder that, like,
Sorry.
no, I'm like, I will you come
Oh,
on
no,
every
sorry.
day? Yeah,
Yeah.
not I will never
Yes.
say sorry for science.
Yeah.
Um, but but in the classroom, I think it's so easy to go if we look at, like, that bath shower analogy, like, let's say that was, like, an
Mhm.
8-year-old and you just were the teacher and the child had never heard another child's name before, and this child that says, "Is your name Shower?" And then everybody laughs, and then that kid who said shower also like laughs. And then the teacher says, well, that's not very nice. That's not their name. Instead of like
Yeah.
having the understanding to go like,
Yeah.
oh, they were trying to remember their name. And now they are like, okay, wait, should I lean in? Cause all my peers are laughing. Should I laugh with them?
Mhm.
Am I being made fun of on my own? Should I
Yeah.
actually also like, I'm getting this feedback from people. Should I be silly? Like, and we're just like,
Mhm.
stop doing that. And it's like, there's so much going on in a child's brain that we
Mhm.
aren't like, we're looking at the wrong way, I think.
No, we are. I feel like we're taking it from like a old school like parenting teaching approach that's really not, it doesn't consider how the brain works and develops at all, I don't think,
Yeah.
because we know so much more now than we used to, obviously. But it's just like, it's like, how can we support children raising kids to kind of understand how their brain works and to advocate and be like, oh no, I didn't mean that, or I heard it wrong, and or us just instead of just expecting or assuming, like really looking again right at the root cause or like the root meaning or purpose behind all
Yeah.
the things that they do, like their behaviors or how they react, and seeing what's actually going on. But it takes a lot more time. We move too fast. Sometimes we can't slow down to figure it out. I feel like, right, in the classroom.
Oh, I agree. I think like in teaching and parenting and anything, like the first place to look is at yourself. And like once for me, especially when I am really analyzing myself, then I can
Hmm.
understand what kids are going through or why things
Hmm.
are going the way that they
Yeah.
are in a classroom. And it's like it
Yes.
starts with regulating yourself and knowing like what
Hmm.
triggers you. Okay, so what could possibly trigger someone else or
Yes.
what could have happened in this situation.
Yeah,
So
it's that relational connection of like, oh, I understand. So I can know what works for me, and maybe we could try this thing and then modify it because you're
yes.
different. But yes, 100%.
Should we start a school or
Yeah, can we?
actually possibly? I feel like I might have
Possibly.
possibly. See, I am fast. I'm like, yeah, we actually think I
Let's
actually
go.
weirdly, I think that I can do anything that I decide what I want to do.
I love
And
that.
but
I need that energy.
I don't always know what I want to do, and that holds me back,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
So but I'm
Yeah.
like, do I want to build a school? So I do feel like I have all the right people around, and I feel like I've asked like 10 people on my podcast if they want to start a school with me, and I'm like, well, maybe I have the team. And recently I started being like, okay, if I had 1 year left to live, what would I do? And the biggest thing is I would be more honest and I would take more risks. And like, anyway, I don't know where that
That's a
came from,
that's a risk, yeah. I love that.
but
I don't even
those
know how I would answer that. What would I do? I don't even know. I would stop worrying,
mhm, yeah.
and I would stop taking things so seriously.
And now start acting like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the truth is, and then I was talking to somebody and they were like, well, but we don't really have 1 year left. I go, well, you actually don't know
Yeah.
that. Like, you really have no idea of that. So, like,
So
okay,
true.
what's the big deal? Like, okay, so you do something, you share something on the internet and people make fun of you. Cool, moving on. Like,
Yeah.
you try to launch a product and it flops. Cool, moving on. Like,
Yes.
do it big. This
Yes.
I don't know why I just started going into like a
I love
motivational
it.
speaker
I
role.
know. I feel very motivated now. Feel
Great.
very, yes, I love it.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
ready to
Well,
go. When
this
does school start?
I know, let's go. Um, this was amazing. Will you come back on sometime soon?
Yes, I would love to. We have a
I've
lot more to talk about.
we have so much more to talk about. I've always like been like, I would love to have a co-host. And I'm like, actually, all of my friends that come on the podcast are like, I'll come on anytime. So I'm like, I'll just rotate my co-host.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, great. Well, you are the
Yay.
best. Tell people where they can find you, and I'll plug it in the show notes too.
Oh, yes. So on Instagram at courtneyenglish.ot.
Okay, great.
That's my main place of
My main
functioning
hangout.
online. Yes, my main hangout. Yeah.
And
For
you'll
now.
start sharing. I was gonna put you into a hole of like something else. You're gonna do 30 days of sharing
Yes.
uh how to stop people pleasing as an adult.
Yes, I should do that in my stories actually.
Let's think of something that we can both do because I want to do. I'm unmotivated on Instagram. So maybe if I have like I'm gonna
Mhm.
share in something for 30 days, then
Yeah.
okay, we'll brainstorm.
Yes, we'll brainstorm
Wow, you're the best,
and we'll get
Courtney.
back
Thank
to it.
you.
You are too, Beth. Thanks for having me. This was fun.